everybody, and welcome to the Devil's Digest game preview as ASU gets set to host Mississippi State here at Mountain America Stadium on Saturday at 7:30 p.m. My name is Justin Lastertosa. Alongside myself, as always, is publisher Hode Rubino. And Hode, last week for ASU, statement victory against Wyoming 48-7. But this is a Mississippi State team that beat Eastern Kentucky 56-7. So two dominant victories for both sides. And it seems like early in this week in practice, ASU sort of fell into that overreaction trap. Didn't really have the greatest practice on Tuesday, but started to get that energy and those juices back flowing on Wednesday, and that's big going into this game. Yeah, it really is. I think there's always in sports a very thin line between cockiness and confidence. And it looks like that line was crossed earlier in the week. Ken Dillingham also said that this scheduling when he did the team lift earlier in the week may have also contributed to somewhat of a lackluster practice on Tuesday. But I think that that overall the team, like you said, Justin, definitely did bounce back from it, and I don't think there's going to be any focus or overconfidence issues come Saturday. If you look at both teams, and look, you can make the argument that ASU maybe beat a better quality team in Wyoming, a Cowboy squad that is coming off of a 9-win season. Eastern Kentucky, in comparison, is an FCS opponent. Didn't have great stats in 2023 to begin with, and I think that definitely showed. But as much as there's excitement and a lot of buzz around campus trying to break the old-time student attendance record and everything, I think those are some of the outside noises that ASU really has to block. Just like I think they did a good job blocking all the negative outside noises that really took place in the preseason, picking them 16th and last in the media Big 12 preseason poll. So on the same token, I think if ASU can maintain their focus, that's going to be a huge thing to achieve. Obviously, you have on the line the fact that ASU has never beaten an SEC team. This is definitely a good opportunity to break that streak on Saturday. And not to look too much ahead to next week, Justin, but let's not forget, it's a short week. There's a Thursday night game waiting at Texas State on the road. So I think the last thing you want to do is go into that game with all the challenges that you're going to have now in preparing for during a short week after a loss. So I think there's definitely some things that ASU has to be cognizant about. But again, I really feel that the overconfidence should not be an issue at all. Mississippi State definitely has the undivided attention of the Sun Devils. Yeah, and let's talk about ASU's offense really quickly. Really looked like a well-oiled machine, you could put it, against Wyoming. Obviously, 48 points is a lot for the Sun Devil team where there's some question marks in some areas, but we've talked about it. This running back room is as deep as it's ever been, and we saw that rushing attack on full display. And redshirt freshman QB Sam Levitt, in his first collegiate game starting, really did exactly what he was asked to do to execute the game plan. But Mississippi State, although they were a subpar defensive unit last year, again, it's a much different beast. Yeah, it definitely is. And look, if you want to be technical about it, the ASU offense scored 34 points because, as we know, 2 touchdowns were scored by the defense. But to your point, yeah, it definitely was a very, very impressive display by ASU. I'm always a big believer that when it comes to an offense, balance kills. I mean, you look at 258 yards passing, 241 yards rushing. If that's a formula that ASU can execute each and every week, and I know it's much easier said than done, you're not going to have any worries about this offense whatsoever. You know, as far as the passing game, again, I'm not here to diminish what Sam Levitt accomplished, especially in his first ever start at Arizona State. But when you look at 258 yards passing, but 68 yards of that were a touchdown reception by Kyson Brown, who had about 50 yards after the catch. Just one of those stats that, makes things, a little prettier. But nonetheless, I think, the passing game still has some more to show for us. And I think against this Mississippi State defense, if there's any weakness, it might be really more in their secondary rather than in their linebackers and defensive line. So I think that the ASU passing game, which did have some missed opportunities for big plays, obviously last Saturday, can really get it rolling. I think it's an opponent that probably would allow you to even complete some more explosive plays and really just get that passing game in rhythm. However, I know we're going to talk about the Mississippi State offense in a second. That's an offense that you want to keep off the field as much as possible. So if you are going to play a lot of dink and dunk and rely a lot on the running game and just realize that every extra minute of possession that you have in your favor is one less minute
that the Cowboy offense and their explosiveness is going to spend on the field, I think that it really has to be the guiding mantra of the coaches as a game plan for Saturday. I mean, sure, moving the chains is nice, but putting points on the board is even nicer. But I think that if ASU doesn't feel like they have to put on some kind of shock and awe show, just because it's going to be a much more amped and larger crowd than it was last Saturday, and just be patient, be deliberate, I think this offense can find success. Again, when I look at limiting an FCS opponent to 7 points, that's pretty much expected, I think, from every Power 4 team. But I'm not saying this Mississippi State defense is a pushover, but I definitely think it's a unit, again, especially in their back five, that can present a lot of good opportunities for this ASU passing game to even take an extra step forward.
Yeah, and you mentioned 2 defensive scores for ASU against Wyoming, more than they had all of last season, and on top of that, 3 turnovers combined. This is an ASU defense that looked really good in fall camp and really showed that against Wyoming. But again, you mentioned Mississippi State. This is an offense that you want to keep off the field at all times. Blake Shapen, a more dynamic quarterback, and a really solid wide receiver group as a whole. What do you sort of expect to see out of ASU's defense? Yeah,
Blake Shapen, not only a dynamic quarterback, but also a veteran quarterback. So when you try to compile the long list of differences between those two offenses, that is definitely one big, huge difference right there, because we saw what an inexperienced quarterback can do, or more importantly, not do against the ASU defense. And I think that when you have a guy like Blake Shapen, and if that name sounds familiar, Sun Devil fans, yes, he was a former Arizona State commit back in the day. Did play at Baylor before he transferred to Mississippi State, so definitely has experience in a power conference team. But this is an offense that is really an offense on skates, if you want to use an old school term. They're going to move fast. If they have 70 plays during a game, that's probably not good enough. So in some ways, your head does have to be on a swivel against an offense like this. I'm wondering what kind of approach the defense is going to take, because to rush the passer when they get the ball out so quickly, and it's such a fast-paced offense, is definitely something that might be really hard to achieve. You wonder how much they're going to really drop down in coverage and maybe dare that Mississippi State team to run. So that is something that you definitely want to keep your eyes on. But either way, I think, and I said this on my podcast earlier this week, this game might be won or lost by the ASU cornerbacks, or maybe the ASU secondary as a whole, I should say, because it's hard for me to imagine the Sun Devil secondary having an average game, let alone a less than average game, and Arizona State still coming on top. On the same token, hard for me to believe that Mississippi State is really going to put up a lot of points on the board and really show their effectiveness on offense if they're not passing the ball at a high volume and a high success rate too. So that is something you definitely want to look at. I don't think the Wyoming game prepared ASU at all for Mississippi State, but that's fine. When you step up at competition, you also want to see the improvement from all facets of the team. So bigger challenge for Arizona State's defense. If they do have the right approach, I think they're not going to really limit Mississippi State to 7 points, but I think they definitely have an effective game plan to really slow down this very, very dangerous Bulldog offense. It's one of those games. Don't spend too much time in the concession line, because there's going to be a lot of action on the field.
So, Hode, ASU obviously comes into this game with a lot of confidence, and if you get a win here, if you're Arizona State, that even bolsters that moving into Week 3 and the preceding weeks following that. But once again, Mississippi State, that's no walkover. So how do you expect this game to sort of unfold, and what do you think's on the line here?
Well, I think that basically if you're Arizona State, to mention my earlier point, you just have to be very, very deliberate and really stick to your game. I know that when you're on offense, you want to put on a show for a crowd that's going to be larger and more energetic than it was last week. But again, it's very important to be very, very deliberate, to play your game. And remember, every extra minute that you have of possession, that's one less minute of possession that a very dangerous Mississippi State offense is going to be off the field. I also think that the fact that Mississippi State is going to present a three-man front, I know it can tempt you to run the ball probably more than you wanted to, but obviously even defenses that do align with a three-man front have creative ways to stop the run. So if I'm at ASU, I'm tempted to run the ball more than I planned or more than I expected, just because they're going to have a three-man front. On defense, just to keep in mind that there might be a lot of bend but not break when you talk about a very high-paced Mississippi State offense, an offense that wants to take no more than 15, 20 seconds between plays to actually run a play. So you just have to be patient in your own right on defense. I'm curious to see, as I mentioned, is ASU really going to try to drop more players into coverage, dare Mississippi State to run, because I don't think that's exactly the forte of that offense. So I'm really curious to see, what happens over there. I think Mississippi State, as much as you talk about, they're coming with a lot of confidence and they have a very fast-paced offense. Ultimately, Justin, it's a game that's going to kick off at 9:30 p.m. in Central Time. It's going to be even warmer than it was last year. So when we talk about the fast pace, Bulldog offense, is that really going to come to fruition, especially in the second half, when you expect to have some kind of wear and tear because of your body clock and because of the temperatures? That's something that obviously, it's not a guarantee to happen, but if it does, it definitely can help if ASU over here. I just feel that ASU does have good momentum on its side. Did go through that brief, cockiness period, if you will, and everybody is on the right track and focus. This is definitely going to be a nail biter compared to last week. There's no doubt about that. But I'm predicting ASU to win 31-23.
Yeah, what a big game for ASU here this weekend at Mountain America Stadium. And we'll be here with all of the pregame, in-game, and postgame coverage. So for all that, go to DevilsDigest.com. Follow Devils Digest on Twitter at Devils Digest. My name's Justin Lestertosa. That's publisher Hoder Bino. We'll see you guys on Saturday. Have a good day.